Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. But one thing I will not do is take credit for this. I am looking at the Wall Street Journal. The author of the article is a guy by the name of Sean McLean. Let me read to y'all the opening couple of graphs because I want you to hear the impact of this. This is serious. This is serious. And I could say it with my team here, having the footage and the receipts to back me up. I could be in that I told you so mode. I really, really could. But I ain't going to do that because I'm in a good mood. I'm going to be chill. But I could be saying I told you so. Because let me read this to you. Caitlin Clark has done for the women's NBA what Michael Jordan once did for the NBA. Made it more valuable, watchable, and marketable. Instead of protecting its transformative star, the league's leadership ignores the relentless targeting of Ms. Clark, treating its greatest asset as if she were a PR headache. That approach could turn into a legal liability for the WNBA. Since she joined the league last year, Ms. Clark's impact has been seismic. Merchandise sales soared 601%. Indiana Fever viewership jumped 170%. The team's value tripled. League Pass subscriptions climbed 366%. App engagement rose 613%. And her endorsements topped $11 million. She's the economic engine driving the league forward. Mystics co-owner Sheila Johnson questioned Ms. Clark's 2024 Time Athlete of the Year recognition. Ms. Clark shattered fan vote records with 1.29 million all-star votes, yet ranked only 9th among guards on the player ballot. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't stop there. Because before I read you some quotes, I want to also read you why I'm saying this to you. Remember when I brought up the 2024 U.S. Olympic roster, how she was left off of that and how stupid that was for Team USA women's basketball to leave her off? Remember I said that? They said this is where they're going now. Ms. Clark's targeting may reflect a culture of disparate treatment, and the evidence provides reasonable cause for a federal probe into potential civil rights violations. Am I making it up now? Remember I said this months ago. Remember I talked about people being jealous. The Cheryl Swoops of the world and others. Remember I pointed that stuff out? Remember I talked about the rough housing? Remember I talked about all of that? Let me read further. This would mirror the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission investigation into the Erica Hamby's pregnancy discrimination claims against the WNBA and her team. Congress and Labor and Justice Departments would be justified in examining the facts. At Harvard and Columbia, during anti-Semitic protests, institutional leaders played down threats and failed to protect students. Congress and Trump's administration demanded answers. Columbia's recent $221 million settlement for civil rights violations shows the effect of such scrutiny. If the Trump administration can settle with Columbia for a $221 million settlement over what's taking place on the campus, you think you can definitively rule out what kind of noise can be made if the WNBA continues to allow this treatment of Caitlin Clark? You really, really think They're going to be silent? Now, before you go any further, I'm not here saying that the case will be won by the government if it got to that point or anything like that. I'm saying they have a case. They have an argument. And do we doubt that at his discretion, at his disposal, if he finds this to be an issue that's politically expedient for him, that Trump won't use this to feed his base? The golden child in her second year in the league, who was top 4 in MVP voting last year, the assist leader last year, a galvanizing talent that has done wonders for the NBA. If she is seen to be physically getting abused on a basketball court in a way that is such a clear and flagrant discrepancy compared to what happens to others, that man is not going to say something? Didn't you just hear Charlamagne tha God point to Trump using issues to evade other issues? You don't think Caitlin Clark could become an issue of national, potentially international, and definitely federal proportions? You don't think so? Let me tell you what kind of quotes Trump would lead on. Sophie Cunningham told the Wall Street Journal, she's Caitlin Clark's teammate, the Indiana Fever, the star player of the league is not being protected. Rebecca Lobo, analyst, ESPN. What does she say? Every single one of those plays against Caitlin Clark has been a foul. Dick Vitale, when the 1.29 million all-star votes came in for Caitlin Clark, yet she was ranked 9th among guards on a player ballot. Quote, absolutely pure jealousy that the WNBA players voted Caitlin Clark the 9th best guard. Someday they will realize what she has done for all of the players in the WNBA. Chartered planes, increase in salaries, sold out crowds, improved TV ratings, etc. And they ain't lying. They ain't lying. We're going to go back to what I said. Let me regurgitate my comments. Since she joined the league last year, immediately had charter flights. Merchandise sales soared 601%. Indiana Fever viewership jumped 170%. The team value tripled. League pass subscriptions climbed 366%. App engagement rose 613%. Her endorsements topped 11 million. And oh, by the way, when she was out for the All-Star weekend this year, because she was hurt, by the way, because of the roughhouse tactics all of those folks alluded to, the ratings dropped 36%. They still had over 2 million views, but they had over 3 million last year. It dropped because she wasn't playing. Now, I told y'all, Candace Parker tried to tell y'all, Rebecca Lobo is trying to tell y'all, the goose that lays the golden eggs, the tide that lifts all boats. Do you know what Gino Auriemma said? He said she's being targeted. I don't remember when Michael Jordan came into the league, guys looking to go out and beat him up. Only the Detroit Pistons were looking to beat him up. And then after that, the New York Knicks with Pat Riley and Ewing and Anthony Mason and Xavier McDaniels and Charles Oakley and all of these guys. The John Starks of the world, Derek Harpers of the world eventually, stuff like that. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird knew that Michael Jordan was the future. Commissioner David Stern knew Michael Jordan was the future. The entire league knew this brother was otherworldly. And this is with Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Mark Aguirre, and cats like that in the league. This is with Charles Barkley coming in the league in 85. This is Ewing being there in 84. This is with Jordan being the 3rd pick. 84, I mean, you see all of this stuff going on. This is with Pippen evolving into his own. This is with Karl Malone and John Stockton and these brothers in the league. This is with Akeem Adreem Olajuwon. And Ralph Sampson was in the league. And everybody knew it was Jordan. And what they did, they competed against him. But the roughhouse tactics took place when he went against the Pistons because the championship was on the line. You didn't see all of this stuff in regular season games. And we want to act. I want to make sure that I'm clear. Some of it Caitlin Clark brings on herself because she talks, she chirps, she antagonizes. That's how Angel Reese became so famous, because Angel Reese clapped back at her the way she was clapping back at people leading into that national championship loss to LSU a few years back when she was at Iowa. And that's how Angel Reese became famous. So we're not going to sit up here and throw some pity party for Caitlin Clark like she's Miss Innocent, when we would be looking to throw everything in the direction of Angel Reese with the vitriol that has been aimed in her direction. We ain't going to do that. But what we will acknowledge is Angel Reese is popular and she's valuable. She ain't Caitlin Clark. She's not that player, and she's not the box office attraction that Caitlin Clark is. That's number one. Number two, because Caitlin Clark is that box office attraction, initially we thought that the league was being jeopardized because if she's not able to play every night, it compromises their numbers, revenue-wise, ratings-wise, attendance-wise, etc. It compromises them. But it gets a bit deeper because, again, the Trump administration has shown it's willing to demand change, proposing federal standards barring men from women's NCAA athletics, issuing sweeping Title VI warnings to more than 60 schools, and launching a Justice Department anti-Semitism task force. Senator Jim Banks' 2024 letter to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert demanded answers on Ms. Clark's treatment. Congress and the administration should demand answers from WNBA leaders, investigate officiating and internal league communications, hold hearings, and insist on real reforms. This is in a Wall Street Journal. The Labor Department should review the league protocols for workplace safety. If evidence shows discrimination or retaliation, the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division must act. If leaders remain inert, Congress should reconsider the WNBA's special privileges, including its antitrust and broadcast considerations. Checking referees' work with NBA-style last 2-minute reports would be a meaningful first step toward building trust. That was the first salvo. I'm not asking you. This is Stephen A., baby. I'm telling you. It's the first salvo. It's not an accident that this is coming shortly after the WNBA players foolishly wore those shirts. As Candace Parker pointed out, pay us what you owe us, antagonizing the league, with pending CBA negotiations coming. That's what they did. And Candace Parker was like, no, you don't do that when you're trying to get stuff done. You don't do that. But that's what they did. And shortly after that, knowing that the players, because of how the league has grown, because of the collective effort put forth by the players before Caitlin Clark ever arrived, but certainly since she's arrived, the players were making a case of what they deserve and what they earn. And right around the time that happens, now you got the Justice Department and the Trump administration being egged on to pay attention to this issue so it will get addressed. And when you have Senator Jim Banks, a senator, writing a letter to the WNBA commissioner demanding answers on Caitlin Clark's treatment, yes, ladies and gentlemen, it could be politically expedient. Yes, this could be all about feeding the MAGA base. Yes, this could end up being much ado about nothing. But it's not, because a CBA negotiation is imminent and will be ongoing. And those players that are talking about their value, what's going to be held against you is looking at your value when Caitlin Clark is not playing. And when you see a precipitous drop-off, it ain't going to be about y'all. It's going to be about her. Even if it's wrong, even if it's unfair, that's how it's going to go down. And when it goes down like that, that's exactly the kind of ammunition that the president will use to his advantage as he so sees fit. People are speculating what he's doing with Epstein. As Charlemagne said, he went after Beyonce. He goes after, he mentions P. Diddy. He mentions Kamala Harris and Michelle Obama and Barack Obama and now him. anything to divert attention away from the Epstein files. So says Charlemagne the God. Well, in this instance, the latest evasive measure that appears to be on the verge of coming into play is the president using treatment towards this golden goose, a spectacular talent that is one of the preeminent futures, if not the future face of the WNBA, if she isn't considered that already, in Caitlin Clark, who also happens to be white, playing in the Midwest, with evidence of unfair treatment. They tried to use arguments like this when they were talking about DEI. Now they're going to have it for this. You think he won't use it? You think the president won't use this to his advantage? I got a better question. You think it won't work? White America still makes up 57% of the population. Caitlin Clark chirps she goes off all the time. I don't mean chirp in a negative way. I'm just talking about athletes talking smack to one another. I ain't hating on it. I love it, actually. It's no big deal. But she does it, no big deal. Barely goes unnoticed. But 17 flagrant fouls have been called against people for beating up on Caitlin Clark. That's practically double what's happened for any other player in the league. They have evidence to say she's being treated unfairly. Even though I think it's just basketball and I think allow them to be competitive and they prefer for competitive juices to flow. I'm not talking about what I feel. I'm talking about the argument that this administration and this Department of Justice can make. You already saw the senator sent the letter. You think that's an accident? More's coming, y'all. Caitlin Clark gonna make national news. Caitlin Clark is going to be politicized. It's coming. I can smell it. And you see how big my nose is. I can smell it. They politicized Colin Kaepernick over kneeling for the national anthem when he never interfered with anything from kickoff to the final buzzer, final gun sounding. Never interfered with anything. Just took a knee during the national anthem. Marshawn Lynch, beast mode, was sitting on water coolers, eating a banana during the national anthem. They didn't say anything. But Trump wants to politicize Colin Kaepernick years ago. And that was because he had something against the NFL owners who wouldn't let him become owner of the Buffalo Bills back in 2014. This, a young star white young lady, getting beat up on a basketball court in their eyes? They're going to try to make that more profound than Kaepernick. WNBA, you've been forewarned. You got to address this. Kill this noise now. Make sure you do what you got to do. Last 2-minute reports from the referees. Emulate that from the NBA and institute that immediately. And start ejecting people if their behavior is too excessive. Against everybody, not just Caitlin Clark. Have a consistent policy. Don't make them find evidence that this inconsistency that's disfavorable to Caitlin Clark. Oh, there will be hell to pay. Based on this story right here, it's the first salvo. It's not an accident that this was put out now. The timing couldn't be more perfect for Trump and the Justice Department. It's not an accident that's coming out shortly after they wore those shirts and while a CBA negotiation is pending. It's not an accident. My last words. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. Open your eyes, y'all. Open your eyes.